Hello everybody, today another watch and knife review. I will discuss the Sea-Gull 1963 watch and the Spyderco Chinese folder, and it will soon become clear why I also like to discuss them together. Already a quick glimpse of the watch, which I think it's really a beauty, and the Chinese folder from Spyderco, which I will also open later on, of course. Before we return to the watch, I would like to discuss briefly a bit of history about this watch. In 1963, there was a project in China for a watch for their pilots, and probably they were flying these, I think it's probably MiGs that they were flying back then. And the code name of that project was D304. And 2 years later the first watches were delivered. You see here the original pilot watch was smaller than the one that I have, was in 38 millimeters. And also you can see here a bit at the bottom right at the steel back. Mine has a glass back, as we will discuss. And 50 years later it was reissued by Sea-Gull, the company who made the original pilot watch. But then the factory was called differently, and it is still available now, maybe not necessarily directly from Sea-Gull, but also from other vendors, as I will explain. Interestingly, the movement of the original was based on the Venus 175 movement, a Swiss movement made between late 40s and mid 60s. Before Venus, the company was bought by Valjoux, who now still makes the mechanical chronograph movements. You can indeed see that this movement, let's put them side by side, you see here the pieces that it's indeed very similar. Indeed, so the movement here is now called the Sea-Gull ST19, 910 I mean, and it is still very close to this original Venus. Some of the parts here that you see here at the side are more or less hidden under the metal, but you can see that it's indeed the same design. Okay. So currently, if you want to buy from Sea-Gull itself, they had a model that looked a lot like this, but in 38 millimeter. But that one is, I believe, sold out. You can still find it in this gray variant, not in the golden one anymore, in 38 millimeter size, and it costs more than the one that I have, because it is said that Sea-Gull uses for themselves a premium movement. So the very best movements that they make, they keep for their own production. So they are not very cheap, I must say. But probably worth it if you really use it very often as a chronometer. Anyway, let's have a look now a bit closer to this one. I also wanted to say about Sea-Gull, so which in any case the movement is made by Sea-Gull, so licensed originally with tools from that were provided by Venus. It is one of the biggest watch or movement factories in the world. I mean, yes, it's not as big as ITA, what you find in many Swiss watches, but if you have mechanical fashion watches, most likely they use a Sea-Gull Chinese movement. So this one, it's not, the movement is by Sea-Gull, but it's from a vendor. Because indeed currently you can find this reissue from several vendors, smaller Chinese companies who put the watch together always with the ST19 movement. It's not something you can fake. I mean, it's a very complex movement, and then make some slight differences typically in size, sometimes in color of the dial, things like that. So a bit more about this. So mine is a 42 millimeter watch because, well, I prefer 42 millimeter. I find that the 38 millimeter of the original is really quite small, but I think for me, I've got a 7-inch wrist. This looks really quite acceptable in my opinion. before we turn it around and have a closer look at the movement, so it is indeed a classical chronograph movement. It's a hand-wind model. There is no date. It's quite a pure look. So no automatic movement, but if you wind it, it's around 40 hours that it will run, and if you use the chronograph, it will be like 37 hours or so, because it requires energy, as you know. So what I like already, let me see if I can sharpen it a bit more, like this. I think it looks absolutely wonderful. It is vintage, but in a timeless way, and it is not bling. The way that I think many Swiss watches can look very bling, this is not really bling. It's simply vintage. As you can see, well, the dial has a champagne color on mine. There are applied indices with numbers and simply bars depending on the hours. A very finely graded second track all around. The hands of the hour and minutes are blue, but the chronograph hand is red. You see the second hand is here, the small, and the one here at the right you can use to for the chronograph to count up to 30. Okay. The case is very highly polished. I will take it off again, meaning you probably have to watch out, otherwise it will scratch. It is not really water resistant. Keep it dry. So I mean, they say something like 3 atmosphere, meaning yes, if you have a little splash during rain, it should be okay, but you should keep it dry. I think what is really beautiful, well, you know about chronographs. Everybody probably uses sometimes a quartz chronograph, but when you see that I think is very beautiful. When you see it moving here at the back, really a wonder of mechanics, that's impressive. And indeed, a chronograph is something very difficult to do. So I will start it. You see the second hand starting there. I don't know if it will run long enough for us to see the minute jumping, but if you think about it, next to running normal time, there is no energy being diverted to the chronograph function. And the normal timekeeping shouldn't suffer from it. The accuracy should stay the same. It's absolutely not evident at all. You see it, you see very slowly the wheels turning at the back. I think this should still be quite sharp. It is a column chronograph, column wheel chronograph. What does that mean? Well, you see here at the well, I will put my finger, this part there. If I'm not mistaken, that's the column wheel. The column wheel looks a bit like a medieval turret with, you know, with yes, a medieval tower with those little bricks on top all around. And it is designed to really make the chronograph functions work well together. If you push the buttons, that it switches between modes in a reliable way. In general, so I will now stop the chronograph, and you see there it switched a bit, so it went back to normal. And here with this button we will reset the chronograph. So everything is, you could say, like a conductor of an orchestra is conducted by the column wheel. It is seen as a more desirable kind of complication to do it that way instead of using cams. In fact, there are not so many column chronographs, certainly not at this affordable price, and usually most chronographs use cams, the affordable ones. A good well-known column chronograph is the famous El Primero from Zenith. So, and you see it has jumped back here to the 12. So I think it's because it's so beautiful, you really interact with the movement by using it, and it's so beautiful to see. Okay, let's see a bit further here about the dial. There is here, what I really love here, it makes it really authentic Chinese, is that little communist star. I think it's very beautiful. It's not overdone, it's not too much, it's a small star. Then it says 21 Zuan, which means 21 jewels. and this Chinese text means made in China, proudly made in China. So you see, it's not because it's a Chinese watch that they always by default try to copy a Western design. This is a beautiful original design. Okay, I already mentioned the very beautiful casing, very polished. Here this text refers to the Chinese Air Force. And that's here the maker from who I buy this. It says it's the number 50 that I have. I have the numbers each of its chronographs. And here you see also the 403, the model. Oh, sorry, excuse me, I made a mistake here. It's from the year 2013 minus, and my serial number is 403. Maybe the 50 means 50 meters water resistance, but I wouldn't count on it. I really recommend to keep it dry. The lugs are a very strange 21 millimeter. So meaning, well, if you put 20 millimeter on it, it should still be okay, and 22 with a bit of pushing should also still work. Mine came with quite a nice leather strap, as you can see, a water resistant leather strap. You see it says water resistant, so that's really quite nice. But if I go back here, many people like it on NATO straps. NATO straps are very cheap these days, or even a bit chic. Some luxury brands use them. I think indeed this helps a bit with that military vibe. Oops, I come to the knife soon. What else? Ah yes, the movement is 21,600 beats per second, per hour. So that's a frequency of 3 Hz, which is the same as many Japanese movements. Currently the most Swiss movements, also the much more expensive ETA-based chronographs, are at 28,800 beats per hour, which in theory can be a bit more precise. So how precise is this model? Well, I would say mine is around 5 seconds per day, which is really quite acceptable, but it can be up to 10-15. So in a way, this is an affordable watch. You can find them if you look out for less than $200. $200, guys. I repeat it, for a mechanical column wheel chronograph. That's really amazing. So, well, something has to give, and yes, it has not the precision of a Zenith of like $8,000. But I mean, mine is around 5 seconds per day. That is really quite acceptable for a mechanical watch. If you see that in percentage, that is really an amazing accuracy that you get with this. So that's quite okay. But I come back to also now the makers and the low price. They are reputed to be a bit fragile. So I'm very careful when I push the pushers to start and stop the chronograph. I don't do it brusquely because they have a reputation that they can be a bit fragile. That is why it is worth doing a bit of research to make certain that your vendor that you use has a good guarantee policy. Now, typically, if they work nicely and you're careful with it, I think you will have many years of pleasure with it. In any case, this watch costs less than the servicing of a luxury mechanical chronograph watch. So that's just the servicing. So it gives you an idea. Well, I think a very beautiful traditional watch. You don't. I mean, even if you think that Chinese watches are are inferior to Swiss watches, well, probably in general you're right, but they are really coming up very quickly and increasing quality. And Sea-Gull, the brand here inside, is really a seriously good brand. And I think if you're interested in watches and you like a beautiful chronograph, which personally, honestly, I think it looks as good as a Speedmaster, if it does not have the reputation, but the general look is absolutely beautiful. I can really recommend it. So now let's go to the knife. So in my reviews, I do it a bit different for most reviews on internet. I have to, where it's or knives or or watches. I think my audience would like the combination. And if you don't like elegant pocket knives, then you stop watching. That's it's as simple as that. Well, because this is a very a true Chinese watch, even indeed if the original technology is based on a Swiss design, I would still say this is a true Chinese design. So I wanted a true Chinese elegant pocket knife to go with it. Well, the best one, in fact, it would be what they call the shilling cutter, and this one they were made in Taipei. I'll leave it open for debate if Taipei and Taiwan are part of China or not. Let's not let's not go there. But in essence, in Taipei, a few family companies continued to make this very beautiful, very pure, very traditional kind of Chinese pocket knives. Unfortunately, when I was in Taipei, they were not available anymore because that family company stopped making it, and the other vendor is a custom maker. You have to wait 2 years for it. So unfortunately, I could not get my hands on this very traditional one. However, I have kind of a reissue, and in a way you could then say that fits even better because this watch is also a reissue of a very traditional design. Spyderco made this one, which, well, I think you see indeed, this you could see as a very modern kind of approach of this traditional design above it. Very beautiful knife. So this one is called the Chinese folder, designed by Bob Lum, a late, very talented custom knife maker in America. So it's called the Lum folder or the Chinese folder. To be frank, I didn't look it up at the moment, the exact designation of this model, because Spyderco made a few variants of this model in a few sizes and a few handle materials. But I think this is a very beautiful general non-weapon. I think, well, I'm not interested in weapons anyway, but I think you see this is more an elegant utility knife, a gentleman knife even, following that traditional Chinese style. A few elements here. The total length from tip to here is around 18 centimeter. The blade is around 8 centimeter, and the cutting edge, if you measure with the ruler between here, the end of the cutting edge to the tip, is 3 inches, 7.5 centimeter, meaning that is probably legal in many legislations, depending if a lock is allowed or a one-hand opening is allowed. The blade is 3 millimeter thick, but it quickly goes quite thin. This is, I think, a straight grind, not a hollow ground. But so it's really quite thin, and which also makes it a terrific cutter. Well, like all Spydercos, but this one particularly, I'd say it's a very good cutter. It's made from VG10 steel, which is a very, very good steel. Japanese steel is absolutely nothing wrong with the steel. Only watch out for your sweat if you wear it in shorts, because I had VG10 rust on me. So it cannot handle salt well, so don't put it in seawater and so on. Clean it if that happens. But for general use, a very good steel, more than mid-range. You can these days, if you're a maniac about hard steels, you can still have harder steels, but for most people it should be largely good enough. Made in Seki City, so probably it's not by Spyderco in America, but in Japan, in the traditional knife making city. It could be Moki, it could be one of the other OEMs there, but made to typically a very good standard. It's a liner lock knife, which I think the people who usually watch my channel will know how that works, and it locks pretty nicely. This one so has an aluminum handle, which looks nice, but it also means that it can scratch. I have knives with aluminum handles and they always scratch. The constructions is with thin screws, meaning you can repair it. So it has a clip for ease of carry, as you can see. You can attach the clip for both tip up or tip down carry. and by default, I mean out of the factory, it comes with tip up carry. Depending what your preference is, you can put the clip there for tip down carry. That seems quite logical. I open it again. I think so. Again, I wanted to stress again how beautiful I think this is. It is really a terrific cutter for normal gentleman use. You have to watch out for your fingers that they do not slip on the blade. There is not really a warning there that your finger could slip on the blade. Not a little tip that blocks your finger. But for I think the normal general use that this knife will likely be subjected to, it should be okay. I must say that when it comes to hand holding, that the shape, while it's a very beautiful organic flowing shape, for me it feels less good in the hand than, for example, the well-known Spyderco Cali, which is one of my absolute favorite knives from Spyderco. I don't know, I think here the curve fit, especially then here it curves more at the end. I don't know, it's okay, eh? For general use it's okay, but you don't feel as locked into the knife as with a modern design. So for me it's a really beautiful collectible. That's which echoes that famous past of the traditional Chinese knives, but and it's perfectly sufficient normal use knife, but I would not use it if I would have to do hard cutting every day, then because I think I would cut myself eventually and I find the grip a bit tough. I noticed there are really nice details, like here the handle has a little cutout so that you can easier get to the spider hole. Also interesting, while many Spyderco blades, they have kind of a bit of a hump where the hole is in the blade, but this is all part of that beautifully flowing shape with the leaf. They call this a leaf or sometimes a flame kind of shape for the blade. Was there something else I didn't say yet? Yes, the liner lock has the little ribs, so that is so it gives you a good feel when you want to unlock. Notice also the steel liners inside. They are nicely finished. There's nothing really sharp there. I cannot really see if they are hollow, if they are hollowed out, the liners. The impression not. But okay, anyway, the knife is not really heavy, 78 grams, that should be good for everybody. I will put them side by side, and I realize that I think I forgot to tell you the weight of my watch here. My watch is 71 grams, so really lightweight. That's with the leather strap. If you add it on a NATO strap, it will be even less. And another thing I forgot to say here about the watch is that the crystal of mine is from mineral glass. The reissue from Sea-Gull itself, I believe it had acryl crystal as by default, like the original pilot watch had. But you can also get it nowadays from Sea-Gull with sapphire crystal, which of course scratches less but costs more. So it is in fact not so easy to find it in 42mm. And my version was a 42mm watch for my, as I mentioned, for my my bigger wrist. It's not so easy to find it with sapphire crystal. You can find the watch, by the way, not only in the original 38 and 42, but I heard that you can also find it with a size of around 40mm. So there's really something for everybody. I wear it again because it's an absolute beauty. I hope you found this an interesting video. A beautiful, affordable mechanical chronograph watch, Chinese pilot watch, and an elegant pocket knife, a nicely made, high quality gentleman knife from Spyderco, who as always put out a really good product, and in this case in the style of the traditional Chinese knife. So both are really, you could say, reissues of traditional designs in their own kind. Well, see you next time. Goodbye.